Wallace, one of the two owners of Cilantro, along with your husband, Jonathan. And we just want to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your time today to join us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, everybody's lives have literally been turned upside down. You guys have owned Cilantro, downtown Guilford, facing the green for 30 years. You guys have been in that location the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect location. I love it. Right next to the page staff office.
Pretty.
It's a beautiful spot. Walk in there, you got the beans going, the old machinery. It's super cool spot. I'm actually missing the cappuccino right now, by the way. I could go for one of those cappuccinos right now. I'm gonna have to stop by there and pick something.
Yeah, it's live, but it's not that live. I can't get it to you.
Yeah. But you can order it online and you can pick it up on the table. So
absolutely. I've actually done some curbside service today.
Great. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Cindy, I'm just curious. Tell us a little bit, like normal days, day to day, what you were doing, and then how it's completely shifted here over the last couple of weeks as we're all going through this new situation together.
So in a normal day, I have my bakers come in here at 5:30, open the cafe. I am home having some coffee, go check in here, go for a walk, whatever, and then we make our menu planning and the ball just rolls. That's what I say, like every day I'll just push that ball and then we just get it rolling, and it's beautiful. Incredible staff, amazing customers, we've really got this thing down to a science, and with very few things that happen, and it's a nice life. It's a very nice life, and then quite honestly, it's so hard to keep days together right now, right? So you can really remember, it's like days, or like yesterday seemed like a week long, and so it's hard to say. But I would say about 4 weeks ago, I was texting a friend of mine in Italy, someone I had met while I was chaperoning a trip for St. George, a mission trip to Italy last summer. And I met this woman. She was our tour guide. And we were talking about this lockdown in Italy and what's happening to them. So she was telling me about her everyday life. And she was talking about essential businesses. And I thought, well, how am I going to position myself if that happens? Because closing down with everything that we have here and all of these employees is going to be a very...
How many employees do you have?
We have 10 employees, and and then our college kids who come home at any time, and our high school kids, so there are like 12 people that we're employing. But they're parents, and they have mortgages, and they're great people. They've worked with us for a long time. So that was really the concern. And when we opened 30 years ago, we were this little gourmet market. We were this little specialty food store, imported and domestic foods and all kinds of things, cheeses, meats, blah, 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 and we just went with the food trends. We evolved with the time, but we always had coffee, and we always roasted our own coffee. Pre-Starbucks going public, there were no coffee shops in the state of Connecticut other than Willoughby's downtown New Haven. And that was kind of it. That was the story. Little too ahead of its time. It was very challenging. It wasn't always super busy. But coming back here now and changing the store back into a grocery store is really, it's kind of surreal. And my older kids are like, I cannot believe what you're doing, Mom. Like, that's what we remember, kind of.
And you've done it essentially overnight. And you made a very quick decision. I mean, you guys have been in business 30 years, so you're entrepreneurs who understand, the need to adapt very quickly. Did you guys give it how long did it take you to make that decision? Was there a lot of conversation, or was it just like, let's go now?
I mean, I woke up, because I'm texting Italy, right? So I woke up in the morning and I'm like, well, this is just what I have to do. And met with some of my sales reps and said, this is what I'm thinking. And then it kind of just happened. So I was taking on more inventory and really buying these things. And honestly, during that time, my stomach is churning because I'm like, this could be terrible. This could be an absolutely terrible idea. And what am I going to do with all this stuff? I had no idea.
You're like buying stuff you don't know if you're going to get rid of it.
Oh, just free. It's just free falling. But what I always think and what I've always thought here is, well, we can talk about business another time, but I run on this break. I always just ran on this break even. Like, it cost me this, and I can sell it for that, and I got nothing. And my time, I'm not one of those time people. I'm happy to share my time. But I don't put an hourly rate on my time. So if I could just, end up at zero, which is a joke sometimes. I'm like, oh, if I did all this, but that's okay. That's okay.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur right there. If I can make it through another week, even at zero, I'll cut my margin down to stay open and not lay off another week. There's no question. I admire you for that, Cindy. So we're with Cindy Wallace, one of the owners of Cilantro, downtown Guilford. If you're just joining in on the live feed and you've got a question for Cindy, entrepreneur, been in business 30 years in downtown Guilford. So if you got a question for Cindy, please post it. And really, they've gone coffee shop to grocery store overnight. What do you guys got in there? What are some of the items you have?
So, gosh, it's too bad I can't take you around because it's kind of hysterical. Oh, see, it's my birthday, so I'm trying to mute my phone here.
Oh yeah, happy birthday. We should have said that online too.
That's okay.
You want to wish Cindy happy birthday, do it here.
Give Cindy a happy birthday.
Thank you. So, I mean, there are no chairs in here, and there are very few tables. So I left the tables in the front windows because, quite honestly, that was one of the hardest parts. When it cleared out, and my son Austin had come home from school, so he and some of his college friends just took the chairs, and they were like, "What do we do with them?" And so we put them in the basement. It's just a big lump in your throat because it's completely vulnerable. You're just naked, And but slowly we just started filling in. So I've got a little produce section where it's over.
I've been in multiple times. And even eggs, like you can't find eggs anywhere, and we were able to snag them with you guys.
I think that's what started to happen too. It wasn't it was an economic decision, but really very quickly it became, well, what do you mean you can't find toilet paper? I can get toilet paper. What do you mean? Why are eggs a problem? And then we can get into what I ended up starting to do because I live a different way than that. I try not to live a fear-based life at all. I really do live a faith-based life. So I'm not afraid. I've had the privilege to work with my friend Claire Nichols, who started a ministry, the Haiti ministry at St. George, in 2003, and I've learned from her. But I've gone to Haiti. I've seen what it's like to have nothing,
right?
And so that is really, truly, social justice is really, truly where my heart lies. You always say, like, I'm a therapist and I'm a social worker and I'm an entrepreneur. Like, you never know where you
get. And I sell coffee.
You are. And I sell coffee.
Yeah.
And coffee is essential for all of those things. So,
Yeah, I actually heard a great analogy along those lines of, like, there are people in, third world countries that basically they're not confronted with a pandemic every single day, but they're confronted with going to the grocery store, going to their local market and having some of what they need, but not all of what they need. They're restricted on when they can leave their house, where they can go. And that's all the time for them. That's their life. Here in America, we're dealing with this right now, and it will come to an end. And we all know it will come to an end, and we're going to be back and stronger because of it, right? But there are people that, to your point, deal with this all the time.
And there's still going to be like that when this is over. But some of our actions are making that worse for some people. And, I sheltered in place in Haiti last year with my friend Kevin Buno and Claire Nichols and 24 kids from St. George. And, that was more of, that was complete civil unrest, and that was because of the government. But, you were concerned. We were taken care of because we had some amazing people there, but water is a concern. Forget toilet paper because that's really not your concern.
Well, if water, the toilet paper is not doing you any good.
Yeah.
Food, and you can live a long time on rights. It's just it's what you're willing to do. Today I woke up, and I understand this is not the norm, but I woke up today and I thought, I do like to challenge people. I think that this is an incredible time for all of us to kind of go inside and see what is really important. And I'm sure the two of you have had, those feelings about, okay, well, when this is over, what am I going to change in my life, or what works or what doesn't work, or, am I living the principles that I want to live? I mean, I'm a very competitive person. I love it. I'm not pretending that I'm any different. The game and how you play it, and that's fun. But today I woke up and I thought, what if I said to somebody, would you give your last roll of toilet paper to someone who really needed it? Like, would you do that?
Would you do that, Byron?
Well, yes, assuming I still have all these T-shirts. I'm sitting in my closet here, Cindy, so I've got a bunch of T-shirts behind me. My T-shirts.
That's why we're talking about it. But I mean,
I don't have any rolls left over here either.
I don't know, but because I do what I do, I say, does anyone care about the turtles and the straws anymore? Now we're on to it.
I'm right there with you on that.
We have to be careful. We have to be really careful, like what hits us and what makes us start to respond and react. Maybe.
I think perspective is certainly highlighted right now, and what is important. You can kind of really break away a lot of layers that were unnecessary for sure. Totally agree with you there. All right, we've got Cindy Wallace. If you got any questions for Cindy, entrepreneur extraordinaire, 30 years in business, downtown Guilford on the Green. They've turned Cilantro overnight from coffee shop into a grocery store. I've got to come get something. We need milk like every other day because of my daughter, so I can come get milk, eggs.
Yeah,
they got like tomatoes in there. I mean, really.
And what's really nice today.
And where you guys pivoted really well too is everything is online. So I can immediately go online. I can order these things. You guys have them sitting out on a table waiting for me when I get there with my slip. So I can just walk in, grab it, walk out. Sometimes I'm parallel parking where I'm not supposed to be, but I'm like, in and out. I'm one of those. But
I'm not sure who's watching right now. But
I know. Well, it's curbside.
There are no rules, and I'm going big on that one.
There's no rules right now. And so I think that's important because I picked up a pizza yesterday for my daughter, and same thing. I paid for it, in that case over the phone, but I picked up the pizza at the Essex, up in Essex, outside, so there was no, if I go to the grocery store right now, there's going to be human interaction that's unavoidable in a large grocery store. I'd much rather, this is a safer way to do it, period.
Right. And you're helping your local too. So.
And you're helping local. The big name grocery, the big name store is going to survive through this for sure. But support our local spots like Cindy and her Jonathan Spot, who are doing such amazing things. Cindy, thank you so much for your time today.
Can we talk about one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, Cindy, what have you done though on top of also turning your store into a grocery? You're now back in the kitchen most of your days. And who are you cooking and supporting back there?
So for that social justice piece, I also am an ambassador at St. George for Catholic Relief Services with my friend Claire Nichols and Andrea Ring and some young kids who are peer ministers there. And we're working with the hungry and the food insecure. And so my first concern here after my employees was people who are going to be hungry, who are hungry right now. So I reached out to Columbus House, and we've been cooking 48 chickens yesterday. I said it's a personal, but they're dropping us food, and we're now buying food for them, and we're cooking it here. State health code has changed some. Everybody is like shifting and doing things, right? So there are people who have cooked for them in the past who can no longer cook for them. People are afraid to be around each other. And so a commercial kitchen is very valuable to them. And we are not the only people who can do this, though. And that's the other thing is that there are so many opportunities. But my friend Mike Duggan just came in, and I'm guessing that's not a birthday card. He's an incredibly generous man, so there's definitely something in there for Columbus House. And people have been doing that.
Love it.
People who don't know who don't have another way to help are more than happy to just fund this. And I was texting my sales rep, and he had read the nice article that was in the Shoreline Times online about us. And so I'm like buying Chef Boyardee. I mean, the things that I'm doing, I've never done before, but they're going to close down the little private, food pantries are going to have to close down because it's too risky. And let's face it, the people who are volunteering to help people in need are older. It's really not my generation, and certainly, not yours, because you guys are busy and everybody's working. So that's a very sad piece for me. So I know that they're not going to get food for the next few weeks. Next week is their last week. So canned goods are so important. Go in your pantry and something that's not expired, something that's good. Bring it down to St. George this week. Leave it outside the Red Barn. I don't know what the town is doing because honestly, I'm so busy here, but I wish someone from the town would reach out to me too and let me know what how we can help. If we can do a can drive here or whatever, but I know, I went home and I took out whatever we had that I don't need. I don't need a lot of mini wheats. I don't. I have a box there because I thought Austin had them, but I took them away. Like, he doesn't need them. But I think it's a very important time, for us to share.
If you're picking up canned goods, maybe just drop a couple more into your car so that you can pass.
I don't know if there are any canned goods. So I don't know. I only went to the Big Y once the beginning of the week, and not about the Big Y. They're very generous, great business, but it was a lot to handle. This is softer, and that's why it's another reason why I'm happy to do this.
Love it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm going to be getting my milk there very shortly, Cindy. I'm going to come see you very soon. What's the hours and what's the website people can go and order for a
the hours? I'm hesitant to change our hours, but because also 30 years in business, you don't mess with stuff like that. So now I find myself being a little fluid because these guys are exhausted who are working here. So we open at 7. It says that we open at 6:30, but we're really open at 7, but knock on the door. Someone will open it. And then I say, if it's beautiful out, we're here until 6. But on some of those rainy days, it's so sad. So 5. We'll close at 5.
Okay.
that's
7 to 5 is generally safe.
Yeah, but I want to keep my hours. I really, really do. And our website is cilantro.coffee. You don't need to do the W's. You can, but you don't.
All right. Cilantro.coffee. Obviously, we're going to link you up here in this video if people are watching this anytime. Go give them a like on Facebook. Follow along their story. Cindy and her husband, Jonathan, are true entrepreneurs. This is an amazing story, and really appreciate what you're doing for the community, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy.
Nicole, thanks for reaching out. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. No, I love reading about you in the Shoreline Times. I love coming to get my eggs.
It's so nice. And if anyone
is dark roast, so you're keeping us all happy over here at the White House.
That's good. And I'm loving watching that lacrosse. If anybody knows someone though who's at risk or at need, or like a neighbor or something, just come. And I also have to move food along too, so I'm more than happy to give anything that anyone needs.
You're amazing.
Yeah, you are extraordinary, Cindy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Enjoy your birthday.
Happy birthday. Be healthy. Be well.
Thanks. Sir.
Bye.
I don't know how to disconnect. Thank you.
All right, I think we're off. So thank you.
Never know. Well, that was great, guys. That was great. And I do watch you guys online. I think it's great.
Oh, thank you. I'm definitely coming by probably today. So be well.
Nice. All right. Take care.
Talk soon.
All right.
It's spinning. Something went wrong.
Are we still on Facebook then? It says live, Jill.
I know. Something went wrong.